Namaste, everyone. I extend my heartfelt welcome to our esteemed gurus, Sahayatri and Sahpati. On behalf of Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center, AURO University, to this retreat from self-discovery to self-mastery. Let me begin with profound quote from the Mother that beautifully encapsulates the essence of spiritual retreat. The spiritual retreat is the time for withdrawing from the world and its destruction in order to focus on the inner self. It's time to silence the mind and open the heart to the divine. It is time to rest and rejuvenate and to prepare for the new beginning. Each day is fresh start, an opportunity for us. We require the guidance of Pratyaksh or a Pratyaksh Guru in our lives, someone to provide us with mantras that anchor us in our pursuit of divine existence on earthly plane. And today, we are privileged to have with us Sri Reverend Naradji, who worked closely with the Mother, dwelling deep into the spiritual significance of flowers and edited the book Flowers and Their Messages. Dr. Aurobindo, a distinguished authority on the writing of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, particularly in the field of yoga, psychology, education, and health. Sri Shraddhalu Ranade, a scientist, educator, scholar. We shall be enlightened by his video presented today. Dr. Jyotiben Thanki, an acclaimed author, educator, and former advisor to the Children University. She is devoted follower of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Mona Dr. Pingle, an architect who designed Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center, AURO University, Surat. Dr. P. Ram Manohar, researcher, director at Amrita Center for Advanced Research Ayurveda, hailing from the lineage steeped into legacy of Ayurvedic practitioner and Vedic teachers. I extend warm welcome to you all on behalf of esteemed Provost of AURO University, Professor Parimal Vyasji, and Founder President Sri H.P. Ramaji. While I'm certain you possess today's program schedule to maintain the flow and minimize the interruption, I'll briefly outline the day's plan. We shall commence with reading of Savitri by Sri Naradji, followed by opening remarks from Ramasar. Architect Mona Doctor will then guide us through the journey of designing the SAILC Center. Dr. Aurobindo will dwell into the realm of religion and spirituality, while Dr. Ram Manoharji will provide us insight into Ayurveda and integral health. The flow of the second part of today's program will be shared after our lunch break. Let us embrace this retreat with open hearts and receptive minds. Now, I take the leave and I'll not come in between to this journey. Thank you so much.
Namaste. Before I share Savitri with you, I would like to speak a few moments about my experience seeing the completion of the Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center. I don't like particularly acronyms, and when I recite Sri Aurobindo's name, a power goes out into the world that anyone who is open to it can receive. My experience here has been extraordinary, and as I walked around, I was told immediately what I must do to help this center progress. And that is to bring all the 40 different lotuses and water lilies that I have put in the Matrimandil Gardens in this center also. But the moment I walked into the meditation room, something happened to me that was so extraordinary. When Mother spoke to me about the gardens, she used the term, this is it, referring to what men would feel when they entered the gardens. I echo Mother's words. This is it. This center will radiate throughout the world as Sri Aurobindo Center and the mothers. And as I sat in meditation, I felt this all would become a reality very soon. This center has been done, created, with such aspiration towards perfection. And I can see that much work still has to be done outside, where we don't want to see piles of rubble, and other works that have to be done. But it is so beautiful. And I thank you all, especially Mona and Hasmukhbhai. Namaste. You see, when I share Savitri, what is there to say after Savitri? So now I will begin. The soul's choice and the supreme consummation. But when the hour of the divine draws near, the mighty mother shall take birth in time, and God be born into the human clay, in forms made ready by your human lives. Then shall the truth supreme be given to men. There is a being beyond the being of mind, an immeasurable, cast into many forms, a miracle of the multitudinous one. There is a consciousness mind cannot touch, its speech cannot utter, nor its thought reveal. It has no home on earth, no center in man, yet is the source of all things thought and done, the fount of the creation and its works. It is the origin of all truth here, the sun orb of mind's fragmentary rays, infinity's heaven that spills the rain of God, the immense that calls to man to expand the spirit, the wide aim that justifies his narrow attempts, a channel for the little he tastes of bliss. Some shall be made the glory's receptacles and vehicles of the Eternal's luminous power. These are the high forerunners, the heads of time, the great deliverers of earthbound mind, the high transfigurers of human clay, the firstborn of a new supernal race. The incarnate dual power shall open God's door. Eternal supermind touch earthly time. The Superman shall wake in mortal man and manifest the hidden demigod, or grow into the godlight and God force, revealing the secret deity in the cave. Then shall earth be touched by the Supreme. His bright, unveiled transcendence shall illumine the mind and heart, and force the life and act to interpret his inexpressible mystery in a heavenly alphabet of divinity signs. His living cosmic spirit shall enring, annulling the decree of death and pain, erasing the formulas of the ignorance with the deep meaning of beauty and life's hid sense. The being ready for immortality, his regard crossing infinity's mystic waves, bring back to nature her early joy to live. The metered heartbeats of a lost delight, the cry of a forgotten ecstasy, the dance of the first world-creating bliss. The imminent shall be the witness God, watching on his many-petaled lotus throne, his actionless being by eternity's law, a thinker waking the inconscious world, an immobile center of many infinitudes in his thousand-pillared temple by time's sea. Then shall the embodied being live as one, who is a thought, a will of the divine, a mask or robe of his divinity, an instrument and partner of his force, a point or line drawn in the infinite, a manifest of the imperishable. The supermind shall be his nature's front. The eternal's truth shall mold his thoughts and acts. The eternal's truth shall be his light and guide. All then shall change. A magic order come, overtopping this mechanical universe. A mightier race shall inhabit the mortal's world. On nature's luminous tops, on the spirit's ground, the Superman shall reign as king of life, make earth almost the mate and peer of heaven, and lead towards God and truth man's ignorant heart, and lift towards Godhead his mortality, a power released from the circumscribing bounds, its height pushed up beyond death's hungry reach. Life's tops shall flame with the immortal's thoughts. Life shall invade the darkness of its base. Then, in the process of evolving time, all shall be drawn into a single plan. A divine harmony shall be earth's law. Beauty and joy remold her way to live. Even the body shall remember God. Nature shall draw back from mortality, and spirit's fires shall guide the earth's blind force. Knowledge shall bring into the aspirant thought a high proximity to truth and God. The supermind shall claim the world for light and thrill with love of God the enamored heart, and place light's crown on nature's lifted head, and found light's reign on her unshaking base. A greater truth than earth's shall roof in earth, and shed its sunlight on the roads of mind. A power infallible shall lead the thought. A seeing puissance govern life and act. In earthly hearts kindle the immortal's fire. A soul shall wake in the inconscious house. The mind shall be God vision's tabernacle, the body intuition's instrument, and life a channel for God's visible power. All earth shall be the Spirit's manifest home, hidden no more by the body and the life, hidden no more by mind's ignorance. An unerring hand shall shape event and act. The Spirit's eyes shall look through nature's eyes. The Spirit's force shall occupy nature's force. This world shall be God's visible garden house. The earth shall be a field and camp of God. Man shall forget consent to mortality and his embodied frail permanence. I will read more to you tomorrow on this extraordinary canto, Book 11, the Book of Everlasting Day, the Soul's Choice, and the Supreme Consummation. Namaste.
Good morning, everybody. You know, this is a special occasion on the eve of 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo. So it is very special for us. The theme of this retreat is Sri Aurobindo Integral Yoga. In Sanskrit, if I'm not mistaken, Arvind means lotus. And lotus means it represents three aspects: the beauty, purity, and harmony. And all of us, when we approach to the divine, we need to represent those three very important aspects. Integral is what we need to create within ourselves at the mind level, at emotional and vital level, and physical level, so that we give a expression of our psychic being, to express it and rule our life. Yoga means to connect, connect from our inner soul to psychic, from psychic to the divine. So this is our journey from here to there, from man to the divine. We just heard that God shall live in human clay. And that's the journey that we need to start through this first step of retreat. And retreat means what? We are retreating from what we do in external life, in our material life, and focus back to our inner life to see what is happening within us. And that's the process of self-discovery. And when we discover ourselves, we are taking first step towards that journey to self-mastery. So this is very important for us to keep in mind that from material life to spiritual life, from external activity to inner activity that we need to focus, transform as we learn through our own experience, and also through learning from the esteemed speakers that we have assembled here today, who will share with us the process and how we prepare ourselves to that journey of self-discovery to self-mastery. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the architect, Mona, who has been working on this project since last 8 years, and she has given up almost on us, but she lasted. So she will share with you what goes behind the physical expression of this center. We call it SAILC. Well, Narad doesn't like the acronym, but we are sailing the life from millenniums. And we will continue to sail our life going forward from this life to the next life. So we are sailing. So this center represents how we prepare ourselves to sail that life that is in front of us, whether we are collaborating with it or we are working against it. It is our choice. I would would like to thank the execution team under the leadership of Somil Javeri, who is here, who has with his team has executed the plan that Mona has given us. And now Dr. Kiran Singh will make this center active to say that whoever the seekers, whoever want to explore the life's secrets can come and discover themselves. So this is what I would like to express my expectation. Thank you all for taking time out on Saturday, a time off to come and learn what we have to offer at this SAILC. Thank you.
I think it's better. Can I have the presentation? Hello. Yes, good morning, everybody. Such a privilege to have this day. Finally, after so many years, today I think is, like I was telling Kiran Ben, it's like Pran Pratishtha of this building. And we have created with a lot of love and joy. Can we have this a little bit higher somehow? And then it's okay, I remove this just for a moment. It's okay, that's good enough. Yeah, it's okay, doesn't matter. We'll get on. So as I was saying, today is the Pran Pratishtha of this building. We have worked 13 years since the journey started. 2010, I met HP first time in Auroville, and you will see why it has taken so long, but actual construction time was about 4 years. And as I was sitting in meditation today, I was thinking that all the difficulties just fell. And I felt I'm sailing through. That's why it's called SAILC, because I felt that these 13 years, we just sailed through with the grace of Mother. Sorry for being emotional, but it is amazing to see something come to life from nowhere, in fact. I just start. Okay. This is the, I wanted to put this because this is the first sketch I did in 2000, maybe 11, 12. And it looks like a child's, drawing. But for me, it kind of, I don't know where it came from, because I was never doing with crayons things at that time. But it actually tells me everything about this building, which was kind of trying to come down. Does it have a marker? Okay. Yeah? It's okay. It's not there. Go back. Doesn't matter. It's okay. So yeah, this was like this a ramp, you see in the purple, and you see this building in water, and you see there are pause points in between. And I just picked it up after so many years while I was preparing this presentation, and I thought it kind of fit, this catching on to something and holding on to it very tenaciously, not giving up, the dream and also the seed idea that I had in those days. Next, yeah. I forgot to say that I'm from Auroville and I'm living there since 33 years. I have a small studio. Actually, Ahmedabadni chu. And this journey in Auroville has been just amazing. So these 33 years, it's been just doing a building like this has been a privilege for me. So when I started designing, we were looking at what does this building represent to AURO University and what they call the Earth Space. So it's a 100-acre campus. And I was thinking that, there are 4 needs, as HP was already saying. So there are the physical needs, the vital needs, the mental needs, and then the psychic. And I immediately understood that this center is going to be like the psychic being of AURO University of Earth Space. And that we used to call it the Integral Yoga Center in those days and not SAILC. And it kind of spoke to me like this is a little, a special building in a university which you hardly would ever find in a university. It's very special because it is for Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's yoga, and it is integral yoga. And therefore, I felt that this was a big responsibility from the beginning. The total building is about 30,000 square feet, and we have an equal amount of landscape. So we like to do interiors, architecture, and landscaping together, because we feel then the whole building is an ensemble and it is something that comes together fully. And it's very important that the building rests on this earth in a proper manner. Therefore, landscaping is very important. Like Naraji was mentioning, you cannot imagine this building without the landscape. And we have about 2 acres of land, which we have fully kind of landscaped and utilized to create these surroundings. This was my first, actually this is the leitmotif of all my works. But for this building in particular, it was very important. It is a line from Aurobindo which says, "A simply rich and beautiful life. Simple but not austere or barren." This is very important. We can do simplicity, but it must have a richness to it. Rich yet not ostentatious or flouting. We don't have to stand there and shout for attention. So this building is very understated. If you see in the way it is laid and the way the proportions of this building are, it is a building which is something you have to discover. It's beautiful, but not shouting for attention, as I already said. So it's a research in beauty. I really feel that the 2 aspects of Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati is something we have tried to realize. This is the master plan of those days. Now it is slightly changed. And you can see that SAILC was here in the center. And those are the academic and the hostel buildings. And the gray ones are the ones that have not yet been built. And we changed the location about 5 times. So you can see that was the first location. It was right on the axis of the entrance to the academic building. And then it changed to that location, which was kind of towards the apartments, and we had a big green area in front. Then it changed to this location. We were changing sometimes because we had certain land parcels which had to be, then accordingly we had to start the building. We couldn't just start on 2 different land parcels. And then at one point it was right in the center. And for each of this, we would make some changes. But I never let go of that original idea. And luckily, HP also understood the strength of that idea. And then finally, we came to this location, which is the present location. And now, this is the present plan of the whole, now, is it still called Earth Space? Right. So Earth Space, and so we have the academic buildings, the hostels, and then there is a whole new development that is happening around the courtyard, the Marriott, and then there are more convention centers, a golf course, etc. is being built, and we are right in the center. And it's amazing, we never, we thought, where should we be placed? And I always feel finally you find the place that it's really meant to be, Now this building has also within it, there are 4 different zones. We designed according to that. So discourse zone is the satsang area. We have the library exhibition space and orientation room, which is the educational zone, which is when you enter, there is an orientation room. There is a library on the top here. And there are exhibition space as well. Then there is the interactive zone, which is the garden, which is right here in the front, the Zen garden we call it now. And also the roof terrace, where we expect that people can be having many activities with the green roof. And then, of course, the most important is the meditation spaces. We have created 2 different kinds of meditation space. One which is in the nature, and another one is more inward looking. So I hope you will experience when you have time in between to visit the whole building. But I'm just kind of giving you an overview of that. And this, as I said, very important is the landscape. So what we've done is actually we've created a biopond all around the building, and that holds a water body which will have fish and plants. A lot of them, as Naraji said, we hope we will see more and more lotuses and lilies here, but a lot of them are from Aurobindo, the plants. And what we wanted to do was to create seasonal natural ponds, which you saw when you entered. The idea was that the land was a little bit low-lying when we got the land, so we said instead of filling it up, we will use it for creating a rainwater harvesting area. So what you see there, the seasonal pond, is what you see now, which is filled with water. And these are just some models. You know, we did lots and lots of models at every time when we had a new concept. We would do models. This particular model is a final model. It is under the staircase. You can see it. So we have planned for solar panels. We have planned for rainwater harvesting. And we have tried to put whatever in terms of what we thought was kind of sustainable, ecological, was possible within the program that was given to us. So these are the different views. I will explain the petal gardens. Yeah, different models. You can see here in the middle is one of the earlier models where we had a different, kind of slightly different concept. But you have these walls in front, and I will explain why I have these kind of walls when you enter through the bridge, as you might have experienced. So this was the plot that was given to us. And as I said, you know, it was all just green, a lot of water, like this whole area is quite marshy and collects a lot of water. So we had to be quite careful with the foundations and also how to collect the water in a way that it doesn't disturb the surroundings. Okay. So this is the idea behind the wall. I showed you my first sketch. The idea was this is a building that has to be discovered, like Sri Aurobindo's yoga. It has to be something from within that has to come. So I felt that this kind of curiosity should be aroused. It's like a little, jewel in the middle of this SAILC of AURO University. And it should be hidden, and it should be very, very low-key and very simple in its scale, in the way, the approach, and the materials. You know, as you will see, this building is just made of 4 or 5 materials when you see the finishes. It's very simple. It's just kota, and you have concrete, you have brickwork, and just glass. That's it, and some wood. So it is a very simple building in terms of its approach, but very rich in terms of its details and the concept behind it, the meditation spaces and the aspects of the four mother aspects. So here you have the bridge, and you have these walls kind of which create a play, and it arouses a sense of curiosity, what lies beyond it. And the bridge is like a journey. A bridge is always a transition into something else. So the idea was you leave behind everything and you cross the bridge and you go into a different space. That is what this workshop is all about today, the retreat. It's about the inner space and the outer manifestation of the same. So this is the water body. We were creating the rainwater harvesting, and here you can see the approach. Now you might ask why the bridge is not straight. And why this bridge has this bend. There's so many ways I can explain this. The life is never straight. There are always little, curves and impediments in the way, but you have to go on. And the other idea was that you don't want this strong axis. It's like Matra Mandir. Matra Mandir deserves that because it's a building which is at the center of Auroville. And it has this very strong axis when you go to Matra Mandir. But here I didn't feel that I wanted this building to be, I wanted it to be discovered. I wanted it to be low-key. So I didn't want also the approach to be something that makes you feel small. the idea of an axis which is very long and a building at the end of it, it's like kind of propels you to go to it, but at the same time it also overpowers you. You know, it's a very strong linearity. So I wanted to break that linearity. Of course, you can also take a pause there. You know, there are benches to sit and enjoy the garden. Sorry, it's not working so well, but yeah. And these are just some ideas. So this is the satsang hall where we are. Upstairs is the library. And there's the garden here in the front, so you can have outdoor events if you want. This is the Zen garden, as we call it. This is a place where I thought would be a place where children and visitors would come, the students, and this is a place for quiet conversations on Mother and Sri Aurobindo. We feel that we will inspire them with the space and with what they read around, and that they can have, you know, a place to sit in the open. Actually, in this building, wherever you are, if you will notice in this building, wherever you are, you will always see nature. And I feel nature is our biggest teacher and our biggest nurturer and our biggest inspiration. And of course, this, some of you might have seen, this is the meditation hall. It's kind of at the end of the building. It's a culmination of a journey. And here we have put the crystal, and there's water flowing around on the gold tiles, which we have got made in Auroville. And these are the 4 petal meditations. So this was the idea we thought. In Matri Mandir, there are the 12 petal chambers for meditation. And it was always my inspiration to look towards Matri Mandir when I was designing this building. So we said, because Mother has specified the 4 mother powers, and each one has a shape and a color. And still today, I'm trying to figure out why she gave a shape and a color. Maybe some of you who have studied more than I have, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, will be able to tell me. Because it's a very important thing. Why did she give a shape and a color to each of these names of the Mother? So I tried to embody them in these 4 petals. This was a meditation that was supposed to be in a confined space and a smaller space. I will tell you a little bit about the story of this. This is the garden which is in the petals, which I hope you will see with there is a disc from the golden disc from the Matri Mandir. So, you know, there are always echoes of Auroville here, of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So this was our first sketches of how we wanted the petal courtyard to be. And in fact, in the earlier days, it was even underground. So these are the 4 powers. And each of them, I've just very succinctly put wisdom, energy, perfection, harmony. There's much more to be said about each of these mother powers. And also, she has specified the directions. This is not for here, but for Auroville, it is a very important aspect that she has given the south, north. So each gate entrance of Matri Mandir is as per these mother powers. The west one has a blue triangle, you know, and each part represents something different. To embody this was a big work, like how do we bring this into the spaces that we are creating? And our first idea was to make it like a cave, because whenever we think about meditation, we think about caves and underground and silent and like a cocoon. And we had done all the things, and then after 6 years or something, 2015 or something, Saumil said, this is not allowed in Surat. We cannot have anything underground because there is no law. There is a law for it that we can't have any habitable spaces underground. So we had to change the whole concept, and we brought them above the ground, and we created a courtyard around it. And these are the 4, how we try to interpret those 4 shapes, and made meditation artwork on which to concentrate on with the colors that Mother has given. These were made in Auroville, stainless steel, and then powder coated. And similarly, we also made the writing there with the glass, which is made also in Auroville with the the colors of the mother symbol, made in glass there in Auroville. And then also these four, I'll just show you the next slide. This is how they were made, and then this is the place. So please, whenever you have time, do go and sit there. It's a very different experience, different colors, like in the petals, and you have something to concentrate your attention on, and on the mother, one of the mother powers. So this is the Bhumi Puja, which happened in February 2019. And I think this is a very important aspect which we have not lost in India in spite of all our modern architectural studies. Is one thing that is across India that happens is when you start a building, you do a puja. And after many years of studying Vastu Shastra, I realized that this is a very important thing. Like today's Pran Pratishtha, that day was the day we asked all the forces that have been on this land to allow us to build here. Because this land has seen so much history over centuries, which we don't know about. And the puja is kind of asking for permission to start this building and let it be harmonious. And we asked for the grace of Mother and Aurobindo. That day also Naradji had read Savitri. I had also read Savitri. And it was a beautiful small ceremony. JP was still there. And we had a nice start to this project. And this is how, just showing you a few photos, you know, how much labor has gone into this. To make this come, it is not, you know, when you do something to the earth, it is always a very difficult process because we are touching the Mother Earth. And because whatever we do, we will be destroying some part of the earth. There is nothing like sustainability. I don't believe in these hyped up words, you know, which sustainable and ecological and all. Whatever you do, when you make a building, you're destroying the earth somewhere. So we have to be very conscious in what we do, and we have to always ask for grace that we do the right thing. Just some photos we'll skip through because I think we run short of time. So this is the bridge. We had a nice, good contractor, good structural engineer from Pondicherry who helped us with the structural design. And of course, the great team that we have here, without it, it wouldn't have been possible to do this. This is the petal courtyard with the gold disc. And here you see the landscape starting to take shape. At the back, you see that long building, that is the Marriott. And on the right-hand side is the academic buildings. The photo is taken from the hostel buildings. And the landscape part. So landscaping was a big, huge task in this project. It was a very important aspect, as I already said. And from the beginning, Naradji has been kind of helping us, supporting us. And we've tried to put trees that are indigenous, that are flowering, that don't require water. You know, whatever we could do in the best manner possible, including trying to keep the soil, you know, which is very fertile here compared to what we have in Auroville. And so this was a lot of work to get everything going. But we had a great team here also, which was looking after the landscape. These are some of my drawings, you know, and I had to communicate all this from Auroville. So during the whole building time, I have come here 12 times. This is the 13th time. 12 times I have not planned, but 12 times I have come, and I think that's pretty okay for 4 years. And it's because we had this great team here under Saumil, all the people who are standing back there, they are just amazing. Thank you. Ravi, Harshil, you know, Dhananjay and Dhirubai. But of course, I've written at the end, but I just feel like it was such a good working together, you know, we managed so well, and we had lots of arguments, lots of times when I would insist on things and Saumil would come back with his ideas, but always it was on a very respectful level, and I really must say I enjoyed this process. this was the team that came to lay the stones, and it was a big thing because, come on. Yeah, and we take it for granted in Auroville because actually all the lessons that I learned in Matri Mandir Gardens when we did the Garden of the Unexpected, where I had an amazing team from Matri Mandir which was doing all the laying of the rocks, and here we had to start from scratch because Samil said, where will we get the rocks from? And we found quarries here, and we found people here to do it. I know these men are from Bihar, I think, and they would come, we showed them a little bit, and then so the last 4 or 5 trips were just for the landscaping, because to lay all these rocks was a big work. And then, they were not from Bihar, they were from Maharashtra, right? Maharashtra. And this is also landscaping when I realized water bodies. Because first thing when I said water bodies, actually said mosquitoes. And I said, no, there'll be no mosquitoes because we'll have fish in them. But then I realized what a difficulty it is to get the plants here, because our water bodies in Auroville are like crystal clear. You can see the bottom. And we are known for that, particularly me and Popo, my husband. We are known for doing good water bodies in Auroville. And then here I was like, where do I get the plants? I thought aquariums people will have. No, I had to send plants. These are some simple plants which we got from Surat. But otherwise, I had to start getting plants from Auroville. And this is how we discovered that we can send them in thermocol boxes, which I got from Bread and Chocolate, because they have to send their chocolates every time. It was a big discovery for me because it made it so easy. The first ones were in cardboard boxes and they were all wet, and it was difficult, but they reached here safely. And then the last part is about the interiors. So for each of the things that you see here, including the furniture, the doors, the windows, all these sound proofing, we had lots and lots of drawings that we did. So this is for the main door. And this is all the works for the calligraphy which Popo has done in Auroville, and then the chairs and the tables, and these are the lamps that we got made in Radiance by Guy in Auroville. So they're handmade brass lamps. And we did lots of prototyping for each of this. There was a whole process, and then HP would come to Auroville, and then we would have discussions, and then he would approve it, and we would make prototypes, and then finally everything would be made. So it was a big process. So these are all the furniture done in Auroville as well. This is the reception where we are supposed to put all the cell phones. So I forgot to say that one of the big things here in this building is you remove your shoes, like we do everywhere in Auroville, and you remove your rucksacks and your purses and everything. You leave your physical baggage, but you also leave your psychological baggage if you can. Today we didn't manage to get you all to leave your bags, but this is a trial run. But eventually everybody, that's why we have made places for cell phones and for bags to be left outside and shoes to be left, so that you enter the building light and you don't get distracted by other things, And so especially I was thinking of students. So all this was designed. And then we have the 12 qualities of the mother, which we want to put up, still coming around the Zen garden, which is going to be, displayed there with different colors, etc. That is still, there's some things like Naraji says still pending. There are lots of things to be done, small touches. The tiles in this were made in AURO University, some by the students and some by their teacher, Juhika, who is here. Thank you, Juhika. So that was also very nice because we tried to involve the students here in AURO University to do some of the work. And then this is the last part, the sensorium, which is still coming. Sensorium is a place, like I said, this building also, I tried to put all the 5 senses, because how to bring about the enhancing of the 5 senses through architecture. And that's why walking barefoot is very important, because your feet are actually, everything, your feet has all the acupuncture, acupressure, so you actually feel the different textures. So in this area, we are going to do with sound. So we are going to have from Auroville, Aurelio from Swaram, we have ordered like 7 different sound instruments. And this is going to still come there. And this is one of the, can you play the video? Is it possible? Yeah.
One instrument, it could be
So these are still coming here, and I hope everybody will have a chance to enjoy what happens within when you do this. And I think we're going towards the end of the presentation. The last part is the meetings, the endless meetings. So many people have contributed to this project. And as you can see here at the bottom, we have HP, JP, Geeta Ben, all of them discussing. On the top, there is Popo, whom we always used to have different architects coming and giving us feedback. There's Narachi. There are a lot of consultants whom we would meet. And these are our meetings in the Dome office here with Amit Bhai. Amit Bhai is not here. He's the maverick. He is the guy go-to man for everything. And I always used to get very upset with him because he'll find a quick fix solution which will not work. But he's an amazing person. Yeah, all these are our meetings which, would take hours, and we would make notes and we would follow up. It's a lot of work that goes something when you do something from so far, but even any building will take much time. These are all the site visits at different times. During COVID, we went through COVID on this building, and we had site visits during that time as well. We had also a change of contractors in between, which was a very difficult thing to do. It's not good to change contractors, but Samil somehow managed to get people again to finish it, and I think we managed in the end well. Yeah, this is one of my favorite spots to sit. This is where on the ledge over there, I see a lot of children sitting there on the steps and enjoying the breeze there. You have to see this building, only few places are air conditioned. We didn't want to do everything air conditioned. We want natural light and natural ventilation. And this is a very important slide because I really would like to thank each one. I'm not going to take their names, but this has been a really amazing teamwork. And I really don't feel that I should take the credit. Thank you.
इसको अंदर से लेंगे. Do we need a mic or? Okay. I have a subject which has been given to me but the subject has taken away the subject. And by subject I mean subject with a capital S, because there is actually only one subject. All others are objects that he fulfills. And one of them, of course, is this beautiful place, and I must say, share my impressions. As beautifully Monaji said, it's like the Pran Pratishtha, and such a beautiful journey, this concealment, like the psychic being, all of it was so much resonating. Just a few days before I started my journey to Surat this time, someone was asking me that about centers that I had seen. And it's Mother's grace, long back I had prayed to her in some mood or moment that I would like to visit all your temples across the world. It was just an urge which came much before I got into this speaking, and truly it's been a blessing to all over India and most places in the world wherever her centers are. I can't say all, but many of the places she took me along. So fair amount of idea and experience of these places. And I've seen other centers also of different things. But when I came to this place just today, I mean I've seen when it was in the making, but today. So something what Brother Narad said, it resonated, that this is it. If somebody ever asks me for a model center, so spontaneously I would say Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center. This is the place if you want to see a model center. And last time I felt about the university that this is the potential to develop into a old time we had Takshila, Nalanda. This is the potential to do that. How far that potential will manifest, when it will manifest, will depend on the degree of soul energy that we put into it, which is what makes a difference. Because buildings can be constructed, it's not easy, no doubt about it, but there are buildings which have been constructed in the world which are unique, wonderful. I'm sure many of us have seen those buildings. I've seen some of those grand buildings which have been built dedicated to some either a movement or a function, but they lack the soul. So where does the soul come in from? And this is where I see the difference. It's easy to create beautifully, you mentioned, thank you for that, simplicity, richness, and beauty, and without being loud, all that which is about the psychic being. But the soul energy is something which is missing, because everybody is focused around making something grand which hits the eye, but what hits the soul? So I was thinking, Hasmukh Bhai is like, Brahmaji. So Brahmaji's task is, you see, he is inspired by the Divine Mother, Brahmaji. When someone asks the mother that, Sri Aurobindo says, you are the creator, but we have read that Brahma is the creator. So what is the truth of the matter? And she said, haven't you heard that Brahma is a child of the mother? Brahma is the creator means he is the front man. Well, he is like Brahma who goes around and collects the best material. And after picking them together, something happens, and you have these beautiful things which are the result of this unique capacity or work that the mother has given. And I must say that sometimes we forget that by the side of Brahma, it is Saraswati whose Veena is actually creating. And while we talk about all the people, I must say that particularly Geeta ji, one picture where nondescript she sits, but I think without her constant support, and she is without like all the qualities, not being loud, not being in the forefront, and yet doing things from behind. So it's amazing. Thank you for this place. A word about that crystal. When I saw that, my own impression, I'm sure each one will have his own impression. It should be like this. But a crystal supported by the mother symbol 4 and 12, it somehow reminded me that long back the Vara avatar had rescued earth from below. And this is symbolized me, the mother rescuing earth. And this earth has become now one with the sun. It's become a crystal which is pure and beautiful and radiating, drenched and purified of all the things that need to be left behind. And now she is lifted up. Why? Because she is supported by the Divine Mother and she is moving in a journey towards the sun. So that was my impression when I saw the crystal. And the beauty is that this space which is confined and yet not confined, it opens toward the wideness, something that I always used to dream that there should be a house like that. And people told me don't keep glass houses because glass houses, you know, that famous dialogue because you can't conceal anything. But I believe that why should we conceal anything from the divine? So it's beautiful to have a glass all around which opens us to the wideness, and yet it doesn't allow us to be swallowed up by it, which is something so important. The psychic being is like that. It allows the individual aspect of the divine to manifest, opens to the universal without being swallowed up by it, which is something so beautiful. And of course the transcendent, and in the perfect union of these three, we have the creation which emerges. So many more beautiful things to come, and I believe this building, the other thought, one last thing I share is that this building is from the future. This is how the thought entered. It's from the future. It's not present, it's not past, it's from the future. And when people ask, where is the sign that supramental force is working, they are always looking at the wrong places. And the wrong places, either the economy must change or the government must pass a bill in the parliament. Well, at least I must say, my own impression, even that is changing, happening. But that's not the place you should look for these changes. These changes start from within outwards. Changes don't come right in the forefront. They will begin from within man's inspiration, his imagination, thought. And now I can add to my list of things that, well, if you want to see where the supramental force is manifesting, go and visit Aurobindo Integral Life Center. Spend a few days. And this I'm saying all from the heart, nothing added up or anywhere. Everything should be like that, straightforward, frank. And one last little thing that's flashed into my mind, my flash, so I can't say whether it's happened or not, but I imagine, like in Auroville, mother used to go on that place for a drive. And I am told sometimes she would look at this place, where now Auroville is. And obviously she must have created it in some dimension, and it took long time to manifest. My own flash is that Aurobindo has come to Surat. Need I say further? Probably passing by one of these, he must have looked and probably thought about a place where ideal of education will manifest with a soul. And that thought which was sown in the void is taking shape. You see, all of us have been through various universities. I have been through some of the best universities, in India. Banaras Hindu University and AFMC Pune University. And I always used to feel, why is BHU so unique? I've been to different universities. And I realized that what I remember of that place, though wonderful place in every way, that there was a Shiva temple. And that was the place I would connect with. And many of us, I have met some old BHU people and I would ask them, the Shiva temple, what a magnificent. So it's a beautiful thing which we have lost, as you rightly remarked. Thank you for reminding all the universities. These are universities without a soul. There is no soul. There is learning. And learning without a soul can create an asura. We know that Ravan was equipped with everything. Many kinds of vidyas and shastras and shastras. but without the soul, it all becomes meaningless. So this Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center at SAILC, within a university campus, I hope this is a trendsetter for all universities to come in the future, that at least in the Indian setting, have universities with a soul, without which all learning becomes meaningless, because whatever we learn, whatever we become, has to become an instrument of the soul of a divine design. This in a nutshell is Sri Aurobindo's yoga. So they are not two different things. Only we have to find the right relation. Right now the relation is soul is buried deep inside. We don't know. We don't care also to discover. But the right relation is the body, mind, heart, life are instruments of the soul. And therefore they must be perfected. Even the soul must arrive at its own perfection. So perfected soul becomes, as Sri Aurobindo says, Arya to Arhat. It becomes none else but a portion of the divine. And a perfected instrument, mind, body, life become an instrument of the divine. And that is how this journey of earth will become one day the life divine. So this is the whole journey, very simply put. But slipping into the subject, where did this journey begin? Where does the call from the future come from? The call was always there, and that is what we see in, if we look at humanity from a very, very large, wide perspective. For instance, today we are all seated here, and the small perspective is that, well, we happen to be faculty, we happen to be here, there, and somebody thought about having a program, and some willingly, some probably not so willingly, I don't know, Saturday, Sunday, somehow came here. This is a very small way to look at it. Why? Because it means that things are happening randomly. But there is a deeper force which compels our choices, even sometimes against our outward choices. This is what all of us learn as we go through the journey of life. One doesn't have to be a yogi for that. And I believe that we are all here after traveling millions of years, after traveling God knows how many lifetimes. And we are here to listen to a future which Sri Aurobindo is manifesting before us. And in that long journey, there are many landscapes we have seen. And those landscapes, many lives we have lived, those lives are continuing to exist within us. And that's where I'll go into the religion and religious life and the spiritual life. And we can see it. What is the first life? Of course, we speak about one life, and of course there is one life. Some say there are many lives. I say there are many lives in one life also. What is the first life that a child experiences? It's the life of the body. The child's bodily life is driven by instincts. Nobody teaches how to breathe. Nobody teaches how to feel hungry, how to go to the right place, seek the mother's attention by crying. Nobody teaches all these things. It's a life which has, in the body, has evolved to a point where it knows how to manage itself by the power of instincts. And this is the first life that we all lead, the life of the body. And this life of the body has its own beautiful purpose. It's not just to survive, but ultimately to manifest. All manifestation is on the basis of matter, on the basis of the body. So this bodily life must be strong, healthy. It has certain needs. It needs food, exercise, rest, sleep. But unfortunately, when life remains exclusively centered around the body, De Atma Bodh, then it begins to collapse sooner or later. So that's why this life is disturbed. I was watching this, disturbing. It has a purpose. This life was disturbed, bodily life was disturbed by life itself. It stirred it. All the mud, it began to throw up. And there is another kind of life which we all lead. It's a life of desires, centered around, I want this, I wish this, I hope this. This is the second kind of life we all need, a life of desires, ambition. etc., etc. The list is very long. This is another kind of life where we live for the fulfillment of that. But a time comes when this is not enough to satisfy us. There is a beautiful poem of Aurobindo where he says, there is a need within the soul of man, the splendors of the surface never sate. For life and mind and their glory and debate are a slow prelude to a vaster theme, a preface of the epic supreme. So all this life, bodily life and life of desires, which can be so dangerous and delightful and frustrating and enjoying whatever it is, cannot satisfy human beings for long. It is inbuilt, programmed. There is no God who is punishing us. There is nobody who is saying, oh, this karma, therefore. It is a grace. When our designs are frustrated, it is a grace. It is showing us, look here, there is something more. Why don't you see that? It compels us to turn towards something within or above, to seek support, to think, to try to understand. And so a new life springs out of this life of desires. It's a life of thought. Thinking man is born, and he begins to wonder why he is where he is. So a third life begins, an intellectual life, and it starts from essentially thinking about some basic questions. It starts with why me? I've never understood this question, because why me means as if I am the only one targeted by somebody out there. Ask this world, and then we will say why this world, not only me, why this world has its so much struggle, suffering as part of it. Buddha even generalizes it. It's one of his fundamental doctrines starts with dukkham. There is, of course, dukh is of many kinds. It's not only just about material poverty. A lot of dukkham, suffering is because of inner poverty, which we don't realize. And that inner poverty creates a sense of stifling, suffering, even when everything is in abundance, which we never address. So anyways, so mind begins to think and wonder. And in response to its thought, another life begins to emerge. And that is what is the spiritual life. It's like a newborn baby, as it's described sometimes in the Vedas. Offspring, child, whom we must nurture and nourish. It's not that spiritual life was never there. So there we see how religion comes into existence. Since physical life starts, and even if for a baby, there's always the sense of uncertainty all around. And the first stirrings of our contact with the subject, God, call it reality, is when we are faced with the terrible vastness, intimidating, this fear, the elements, we don't know what is going to happen when. The storm, the thunder, the clouds. And then we start connecting with God as somebody who assuages our fears, fear and favor. The first doctrines of contact with the divine. Unfortunately, some religions encash upon it, and many of us make it the last. But if we read the Gita, we see Artha and Artharthi are only the first two ways. And wherever there is this connect with the divine, where God is outside, He grants us outward things and looks after our outward needs, we have a religion. Even that is an approach to God. And He is a giver of all these things. But if we stop there, that He is only meant for, He is like a genie in the bottle, and His omnipotence must be at our service. We should tell Him, I command and thou must fulfill. Most irrational demands, yet it's your job description. No, sir. His job description is also to snatch away from our hand that bottle which would never get filled. So that is also his job description, which we will learn later on. But nevertheless, so this is how there is a primitive religion which begins to form. We will see that. It's the first approach to God. It has its own purpose, spirits of nature, you see. In every element, we worship trees. Not that this has its own place. This is the first scaffolding through which we begin. We worship this, we worship that, we worship everything. In India, we are so fortunate. Everything is sacred. And so we start with that. But as we begin to go further and further, that he is not just a cosmic spirit giving us things, we begin to think, who is he? Beautiful passage from Aurobindo's Who? In the blue of the sky, in the green of the forest, whose is the hand that has painted the glow? Now the glow is okay, but we want to know who has painted this glow. It's not enough that we are enjoying, say, this is so wonderful. When the winds were asleep in the womb of the ether, who was it roused them and bade them to blow? He is lost in the heart, in the cavern of nature. He is found in the brain, where he builds up the thought. In the pattern, in the pattern and bloom of the flower he is woven. In the luminous net of the stars he is caught. Then we have those wonderful, in the strength of a man, in the beauty of woman, in the laughter of boy, in the blush of a girl, the hand that sent Jupiter spinning through heaven spends all its cunning to fashion a curl. And then comes this wonderful time come when we say, these are his works and his veils and his cunning. But who is he then? By what name is he known? And then we have all the names. Is he Brahma or Vishnu? Man or a woman? Bodied or bodiless? Twin or alone? And we see that, humanity approaches. Now this is where we see when man begins to question this existence, question himself, begins to seek the thinking man. Out of that something happens and suddenly, pop, that which was pursuing us, hidden as spirits of nature, giving us some gifts, doling us some rewards for some good deeds and punishments out of some bad deeds, etc., all those early notions. We begin to discover that he is the friend who was walking with us through this journey. And it's so easy to understand. Can we really imagine by random accidents, man, the most, in terms of animals, is the most unlikely to survive when he would have come into the caves. All those anacondas and God knows around. I mean, sometimes I imagine how the life must have been in the caves. Isn't it? With the lions and tigers, he is the most incompetent fellow at that point of time. He didn't have vaccines. But he had viruses, plenty of them. He had no knowledge which plant is dangerous, which is not, which will heal him. And yet, he survived and grew and evolved, that today we are sitting and talking about the future of the planet. Who has led us on this journey? It doesn't require any big book to read, but sheer common sense that there is somebody who has been walking with us. Let's find who is he. And when this question starts, let's find who is he. The master of man and his infinite lover. He is close to our hearts, had we vision to see. Why don't we see him? Everybody says he's there, everybody says he's inside. We don't see him. Why? Because we are lost in the pomp and the pride of our passions. We are proud of our thoughts where we hold ourselves free. So he remains hidden. We are busy. When we are busy, then after some time, when children are playing and doing things, this, that, and mama comes, says, beta, bacha, don't disturb me. But when the child feels hungry, mama. So this is what happens. After some time, our hunger cannot be filled by any number of objects. That's when we are curious about the subject. And then we begin to discover. That's when spiritual life begins. When we ask the right questions. We have not asked the right questions. We have the answers. All the books in schools are filled with answers about all the processes. How? Ask a child, he will rattle out. How does this happen? How does that happen? Why? Perhaps there is none. This is what the books will tell us. Who? Don't ask this question. Don't be crazy. Who? There is no who. This is a randomly happening event, accident, wonderful. One marvels. Then one wishes life should be only accidents. If this is the result or last result of an accident. So when we begin to ask this question, who? Who is this hidden in all this creation? Who is hidden inside me? Who is behind the veil? Is there someone? Then the spiritual life begins. And then he starts revealing, not immediately the whole of it. Why? Because we'll be floored with that mighty, stupendous, in Kathopanishad, Nachiketa asks Yama, I am so happy you are telling me such beautiful things. How could this, my masala, okay? But he is something like this. He is telling him wonderful things, and he says, oh my God, tell me about that. And then Yama says, you want me to tell you about that? Na tatra surya bhati, na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto kanti, kuto yamagni. Where is that fire which can even think about that? Our sun is like a darkness before that splendor of splendors. And then he says, you are asking about that, where in his banquet, the sages and heroes are food in his banquet. And I, death, am a spice to spice up the food. You want to ask about him? Sarva Bhoktaram. And yet, yoga is all about the divine revealing himself to man. Nar Narayan. You see, in Sagar Manthan, when everything is over, beautiful story. And at the end, how does the Lord fight? He fights as Nar Narayan. This is the last expression. And then, after preparing us, so all the journey is a preparation. I'm taking a little aside, but I must say, of course, somebody like Hasmukh Bhai, people will write many beautiful things, probably book and other things. But I must say, this is what is something extraordinary. This is one work, this kind of work, which immortalizes a person, and all who are involved. Countless. This is the work. It's not about recognition by anyone. These kind of things, which are directly as if moved by the divine afflatus. So slowly prepares us. All the rest is a preparation. When we look back, all the rest is a preparation. And that preparation one day comes handy. And then he begins to shine. First this aspect, that aspect. Sometimes impersonal, personal. Let the debaters be lost in that debate. Let's go to discover who is that which has you. Sometimes it becomes personal, impersonal, suprapersonal. And then we will discover the wholeness of, we may use the word integral divine for want of better word. The Creator in all the fullness of His splendor. The one for whom all creation is made. The one who is manifesting himself through all this millions of years and will manifest. This is what earth is made for. The one who hides behind all forms. The one who is within, who is without. Tade jati, tanne jati, tad dure taduvandike. Tadantarasya antarasya. Sarvasya yadubahyat. Who is everywhere. And when we reach that point, then spiritual life begins to graduate. Spiritual life also has a long journey. It starts with, who is he? Who is that? What is where? Where do I find him? Then glimpses. Each glimpse, one is a yogi and start a school, a sect, cult based on one experience. Each of them is such a priceless treasure. And we see that. Religions have been formed based on one line of experience. And yet Sri Aurobindo does not stop there. He says, I want the whole, this rounded, the perfect perfection. And that wholeness of the divine, the integral truth. What is the integral truth? It does not cut off life here and life there. So let me complete that. From material retreat, spiritual retreat, when we go back to spiritual consciousness to discover. But we should not forget, from the spiritual to the material. It's a two-way journey. When we go to Aurobindo's room, we see something written in mother's handwriting, cling to truth. It's a different thing that we all have our own ideas. So when we go, we have our own ideas. Everybody believes he is living in truth. Yes, see, my vegetarianism, that's the truth. For somebody else, it may be, everybody is in truth. And when you go there and stand in that wonderful presence, you realize, oh my God, kya soch rahe the? And then you come back, you again see, cling to truth. Now you had a glimpse. That is the supramental life. From the spiritual life must further evolve. Spiritual life is the life of the sage, the saint, even the heroes, the kings, rishis, Raj rishis. They have all been glimpses, preparations. We thought that is the highest. No, the highest is yet to come. Wait. The sages and saints, they sing his glory. And he has yet to manifest in all his fullness. And that manifestation, when the divine will manifest in all his fullness, through this very body, not just glimpses, is the supramental creation towards which we are moving. Religion stops short of that. Religion is too occupied with the externals. सुबह 3 बजे उठ के स्नान करके नित्य नेम करके, आई ट्रांसलेट इन इंग्लिश, पूजा किया कि नहीं? Did you get up morning 3 o'clock? Did you do the prayers after taking a bath? Bath is very important. In Hindu life, I was very shocked when once I realized there are places where people don't take a bath every day. I said, my God, aisa bhi hota hai. Because from childhood we have grown up in that culture, no, that twice a day, not once a day. Bath should be twice a day. So all this we have grown up. So, and bath is one of the first things. Morning you don't go to school without taking a bath. So I was very shocked. No, every day bath. I said, my God. Anyway, so that's how it starts like that. It's a preparation. It's important. Yeah. But then a time comes when we discover with Swami Vivekananda, as he says, that's what the difference between religious life and spiritual life. Every day we must give bath to the body and to the soul. But if you don't have time for both, give bath to the soul. So my suggestion, I don't believe in giving advices because nobody follows any advice. That's why I say people who give advices need advice. Give advice only if you are asked. Don't give unwanted advices. Anyways, even when asked, people don't want advice, they want to listen to their already preformed opinion. So, be very careful. This business of giving advice is the worst kind of thing. But as teachers, we are unfortunately, but every day when we come to this place, I'm just paraphrasing Swami Vivekananda. That is your temple where we nourish the mind, the heart, the soul and students. And this is another temple. Go to both the places. But if you don't have time for both, come here to Aurobindo Integral Life Center. Take a holy dip here in the Kumbh. What is Kumbh? Where Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati meet. Which is Saraswati? She is the Lupt river. I am not talking about the historical Lupt river. Yes, that is there. When does she emerge? When Ganga and Yamuna meet. What is Yamuna? Life. Yamuna is always chanchal. Have you seen? See Yamuna, I have actually seen the storm over Yamuna and it can be very intimidating. And when you are told there are crocodiles, there are turtles, all this, Dhyan se pav rakhna. When I went with my some family members, Be careful, they are crocodiles. No crocodile comes to the shore, but sometimes you don't know. Now I know, seeing everything is possible. But Yamuna is like that, no? Chanchal, she is sister of Yama. He is restless. Every moment he must pick up some band of people. But that's not what is the relation between Yama and Yami. That's a different story, very fascinating. Let me not digress, but very fascinating story of Yama and Yami. Yami becomes Yamuna. Nevertheless, the story is for Google search, meaning I have my own. So anyway, so that is Yamuna, life, which is wedded to death, Yama. See, she is the sister of Yama. And yet, Yama, when he comes to Yamuna's place, here, let me tell the secret. So Yama comes once a year to tie the Bhai Dooj ka bajada. So Yama says, whichever sister thinks of a brother like this, I will leave that brother, not forever, on that day, for maybe some time, I don't know. So what is it? Our human life wedded to death, cousins. And that comes time to time, and Yama is chastened when he experiences the agony of earth. Yami, his sister, is on earth. Chanchal, Chapal. And yet, he understands, okay, human life has so much suffering. My job description is to do this bad job, but I have to do a good job out of a bad job because he's a god. God in the Indian mythology. So what he does is, he says, okay, I understand suffering. Time to time I'll spare some people this agony in my own little way. I'll do my little deed. But then when Yamuna meets Ganga, what is Ganga? Ganga is inner life. Nirmal, pure, purifying current. Ganga is amazing. You know, I remember my Varanasi days going on the shore of Ganga. It's amazing just to see that sunrise splendor. Something very special about Ganga. But Ganga is the inner life, Yamuna is our outer life, what we lead all around, and Ganga is like this. But when the two meet, there is a third life which must join this too. The hidden current, the spiritual life, the deeper psychic life. Saraswati, she is hidden. And when the three meet, what happens? It is known as the drop of immortality, nectar of immortality. That's what is Kumbh. This is like a Kumbh where Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, we meet together. It's a tantric symbol actually, which we have translated. But in religion, the symbol is there, but the truth is lost. That is where religion is created. The symbol is there. Every year there is Ardha Kumbh, Purna Kumbh, Mahakumbh, all kinds of. And everybody goes, lakhs of people, and it has its own energy and all that. I'm not, talking about that. But to realize the inner Kumbh, what is that Kumbh? That to make this human body a vessel, Kumbhak, in which Amrit, nectar of immortality, can spill. And for that one has to go through that process of manthan. The demons and the gods wrestling together and all the things emerging. Look at how these beautiful stories are. But when we stop at the symbol and do not look beyond the symbol into the reality which is behind, then we have a religion. It serves a purpose. For those who are not yet ready, nothing should be removed. Everything has its place. But a day comes when we say, it's okay, I have heard Krishna dancing on the Yamuna side, below the Kadamba tree. But I want to hear his flute. Go to Vrindavan, ask them, Krishna ji ka flute kahin milta hai? Vrindavan I am talking about, forget about other places. After a few shops they will say, isko thoda needs a checkup. Somebody will quote you. Harvard University has done a research and there is no, even Krishna existed or not, 60% doubt or confirmed and 40% doubt. That's how, you will hear all these stories. And if you keep asking in somebody to satisfy you will give you Hari Prasad Chaurasiya, flute. And you have to say, this is Hari Prasad, I want Hari. Original Hari flute. Then eventually they will say, sir, Please get yourself checked up by a psychiatrist. Okay. And then you discover Savitri. And then you understand the flute that Shri Krishna played on the banks of the Yamuna below the supramental. Kadam is given the name by the mother. Supramental something, no? Supramental, sun. Below that, oh, that flute. Nobody could remember. And that flute now comes through Sri Aurobindo's Vani, the flute of the future. Sri Aurobindo has used the word flutings of the infinite. And it is there in the rhythms of Savitri. Then you understand. Why? See the advantage. When we don't get only to that symbol but see the reality behind, you realize that this is the call. Flute is the call of the divine in the heart of man. Would we be like gopis and gopis or like Kans who doubts? Then the story becomes so beautiful. We can connect with it. Thanks to this wonderful land called India where we have preserved all these symbols. But sometimes we forget the inner truth. The temple which has to be built inside, which exists inside us. The Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center, the mother's symbol which has to be built inside. And how do we build the symbol? At the center, no more the ego, but the mother, Aditi, in all her fullness. Around her, in the mind and heart and life and body, all the four aspects of the Divine Mother. And in our outer life, in our dealings with this wonderful world and with the Divine Presence, all the 12 qualities, then the symbol becomes a reality. Otherwise, it's a symbol. We can put it on scooter on front of the houses, it's all right. But purpose of the symbol is to recreate it inside. Religion stops with the outer. And when you start creating it inside, then it begins to become spiritual. Another problem of religion is, as I said, not only too much lost in the outer, but one problem which we particularly face today. So often people say, sab religion ek hai. Well, politically it is okay, politicians have to say all those things everywhere. But it's not true. Why it is not true? Religion tab tak ek hai till they remain connected with their spiritual core. The moment they move outward from the spiritual, at the core of every religion there is spirituality, without a doubt about it. Every religion starts from some spiritual experience. Then it gets distorted. Then the danger comes when it becomes exclusive. Only my way or no way. Not only my way or highway, that is still okay. Okay, fine, not your way, I'll move the highway. But my way or no way, that becomes dangerous. It's a bane. Today we are facing this. All fundamentalism and fanaticism spring from this one defect. Nothing else needs to be. Everybody follows whatever they want to. But the moment I say my way or no way, nothing else exists, then we are entering a dangerous point. That's where many religions have entered. And what is the remedy? To free them of this trapping and liberate the spiritual impulsion behind. But nobody else can do it. It is in each religion people have to do it themselves. Otherwise they'll collapse because it cannot. In world, nature, God, nothing will allow this. So exclusivity, it happens even in sciences. Materialist says, there is no this thing. What I have discovered, my process, that is the only truth. So, but truth is wide, infinite, greater than her forms. But truth is wider, greater than her forms. 1,000 icons they have built of her. But she remains herself and infinite. So while, and that is something very nice, beautiful. And that is how we see in Matri Mandir Auroville. The form is within you. What is the form? Form is the image of that truth as it represents itself to you. For me, it is Mother and Sri Aurobindo. But that's my truth. It is a grace. But not everybody need to connect only through that particular form. People are free to connect in their own way. But important thing is this spiritual conversion. Important thing is to understand that the life we lead conceals the light we are. Important thing to understand is that let me not be confined only to the peripheries of life, but turn within, enter deeper, and discover the one who shines through every form. If we remember that, then rest is okay. So then there is no question of conversion, no question of convincing anybody. He alone knows. He will convince or whatever when it's necessary. So janahi jina Rama janahi. When the time comes, people find their own way, or rather he brings them to the path. But whatever chhabi, the form is shown to us, we remain faithful to that. That's how the fidelity and fundamentalism get reconciled. So these are some of the thoughts about religions. Too much into ritualism, externalities. We give God moments, some moments to God, maybe in a drawing room. Religion has a place, cupboard. God को हम बोलते हैं वहाँ रहना. Ganapati, stay there. Krishna, stay there. And we do everything to make him stay there. But Krishna comes out. He is very naughty. He starts dancing over our head. Like on Kalia. We think we are the ones. Yamuna I own. And he says, okay, I'll tell you who owns Yamuna. And he begins to dance and Kalia has to slither away. So when God steps out of the cupboard and the temples and of course all other places of worship and enters where his place is, he was always there in our hearts and mind and soul, occupies our body, breath and speech and act, then we can say we are leading a spiritual life. Religious life at best is a preparation for the spiritual life. At worst, it becomes a obstruction to the spiritual life. It is a preparation when we understand that all that we are reading, all that we are seeing outside has to be discovered inside. It's like reading a book. Reading a book, however great a scripture may be, that's why Aurobindo tells us and the Gita also tells us, Shabd Brahmati Vartate. People often ask, what is the scripture of Sanatan Dharma? And I say, many of them, but ultimate scripture is in the heart. The Gita says so, Shabd Brahmati Vartate. So the scripture is like a guide. I can't start operating on people reading a book on surgery. I have to practice it. So reading a scripture, teaching is not enough. Scripture is a guide. But the real guide is inside us. That's where the eternal Veda is present. That's what we must read. And fortunately for this, we don't need to know Sanskrit or English or Gujarati, of course, or any other language, because he knows all languages and transcends all languages, and he speaks best when we are silent. God shall grow up when the wise men talk in sleep, and belief shall be not till the work is done. So with these few words, and as I said, religion can become a trapping when we remain confined to the peripheries. When I say only this way, make a rigid barrier between the external and the inner. Only if you do this, then only. Only if you bow down before God frightened with fear, will he be happy? No, sir, he is waiting for us to love him. He is the eternal lover. Sri Ramakrishna said that. The Semitic religions, and Aurobindo also said that, gave to man the fear of God, and India gave to man the love of God. Because we know he is not a judge sitting there with a carrot and stick, but he is a lover, the master of man, and is infinite lover. So to relate with him in these ways, not just put God on the mandap and put all the malas, poor fellow, he must be thinking, my God, this is too heavy, can somebody just loosen this? He is real, he is not a murti. Imagine putting somebody there, putting all this mala, breaking coconut and all this, and making him sit 2 hours with all kinds of incenses floating all around. That he consents to it is his grace and mercy. He doesn't have a choice. He can't run away from his devotees. Where will he run away? Because he's everywhere. But there comes a time when he says, look here, break this coconut, which is preventing you. Offer flowers of faith, light up the incense of devotion and the lamp of aspiration in the heart. And when we do that, then spiritual life begins. Thank you. Namaste. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Namaste. Right now, I request all of you, please settle down. I request Dr. Ram Manoharji to come over here and please give us insightful lecture. But before that, I would request one more thing. After lunch break, all of you will be coming here. We will be showing Shraddhaluji's video, which would be live. So I would request here, please do not walk in this passage because it will be shown live, as well as even during the lectures because this is live recording. So please, no movement in the passage. There are outside doors are there. Please use those doors. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Namaste. अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। So I'm very thankful to Kiranji and the organizers for inviting me to this retreat. And the moment I stepped into this beautiful place, it's been an overwhelming, transforming experience. I must say that this place is like what Ayurveda calls the transformation of Prakriti into the Kshetra, which will enable the emancipation and evolution of the Kshetratnya. So today I would like to share some thoughts and insights about Ayurveda, which is not just a medical system, as the word indicates, it is the insight into life itself, Ayurveda. There are many medical systems in the world, and if you look at their name, they are all known by the region where it developed. We have traditional Chinese medicine, traditional European medicine, even modern medicine we call it as many times Western medicine. But it is a point to be noted that Ayurveda was never called by the region where it developed, not only in ancient times but also even today. It is still not called as traditional Indian medicine. It has somehow retained the original word Ayurveda. Because Ayurveda is about life not just as it exists in India, but in the whole universe. This is true of Sanskrit also. Now Sanskrit language, the word Sanskrit, almost all other languages, there are some exceptions of course, are known by the people or the place where it is spoken. You have English, England, German, Germany, Tamil, Tamil Nadu, but when you think about Sanskrit, it is Samskritam. It is a refined speech. It is both Sanskrit language and Ayurveda represents a universal aspiration of refinement, of perfection. And today I want to talk about how Ayurveda can bring about, a transformation, a paradigm shift
in global healthcare, which is so essential for the survival and the future of humankind. So, I did bring a presentation, but after seeing the atmosphere here, I felt it is better to talk, though I may just make use of my slides to make sure that we finish in time and I don't miss the essential points. It's always so much more engaging to see each other face to face and connect to each other. Nowadays, the PowerPoint presentations, our attention is on the screen and there is no real communication. So the first is this concept of integral health, which is so central to Ayurveda, of connecting, the different dimensions of our own existence, of our own being, the physical, the vital, the mental, and the psychic. This is very central to Ayurveda. So, Ayurveda is the knowledge of life as it is defined, and it deals with not just human life, but with all forms of life. So we have Vriksha Ayurveda, the Ayurveda of plants, Pashu Ayurveda, the Ayurveda of animals. So Ayurveda has embraced life in totality. And the definition of Ayurveda is given in many ways, one of which is the process through which life discovers itself. That's one way we can define Ayurveda. Anena Purusho Yasmad Ayurvindati Vetticha. Not only discover ourselves, our life, but also attain the highest fulfillment of life. And that is why I say Ayurveda is much more than a medical system. Today modern medicine has made mind-boggling advancements in terms of technology, in terms of knowledge, in terms of all the tools that we have. But we have also reached a paradoxical point, where all this development is not enabling us to eliminate sickness, but we are reaching a point where we are only changing one form of sickness into another. 70% of the global healthcare burden is related to non-communicable diseases. 4 major diseases. Heart disease is the number one killer. Accounts for the number one cause of mortality worldwide. There was an allopathic doctor in India, he's active. So he became disillusioned with modern cardiological care because he said that in the short term it looks like medicine is very life-saving, but in the long run the mortality rate from cardiovascular disease is only increasing. It is not decreasing in spite of the bypass surgeries, in spite of angioplasty, in spite of all the emergency care that we are able to give. We are not able to make an impact on the overall mortality. And he has now started a chain of 330 Ayurvedic clinics across the country. He's an allopathic doctor, employing Ayurveda physicians and bringing this concept of preventive cardiology. So heart disease is a major killer. And this is very much related to the way we live our lives. That is only cause. These are all modifiable risk factors. The second leading cause of death worldwide is cancer. Although cancer is a genetic disease in the sense that cells mutate and grow uncontrollably, cancer is caused, 95% of cancers are due to environmental factors, not due to random mutations. The bad lifestyle, bad diet that we follow, they trigger the development of cancer cells. So cancer is also a preventable disease. Now I would like to ask this august audience, in your opinion, what is the third leading cause of death? Diabetes? Blood pressure is heart disease. Diabetes is definitely one of the major lung problem. Diabetes and lung problems are all major causes. But the third leading cause for death, according to statistics released from the United States, no, it's a doctor. The third leading cause of death is medical error, unnecessary medications. In fact, there are studies which have shown that when doctors went on strike, death rates came down by up to 30 to 50%. So this is not to belittle modern medicine. This is, see, we are becoming dependent on external supports. What medicine has developed, and definitely these developments are necessary, but we are misusing and abusing the tools that we create. What is the reason for that? Lack of inner development and transformation. We live at the level of the body, and more we are getting dependent on external tools and supports. And what Ayurveda tells us is that we need to move. Exactly the theme of this retreat is discover ourselves and become masters of ourselves. Masters of our own health. That is the only way we can move forward. I don't know if you are aware that today, now we are moving. Global warming, we have been hearing for quite a long time. It's not warming anymore. As the scientists, climate scientists declared very recently, July this year has been the hottest month ever recorded. And we have moved from global warming to global boiling. Actually, in my opinion, it's gone beyond that. I just saw a map of the places on the globe where there are forest fires. And if you look at that, it is global burning. And why I'm saying this is we do not know. We think that the more medical hospitals we create, the more medical facilities we create, the more secure and safe our health will be. But I don't know how many of you are aware that these statistics are again from the US. American healthcare services contribute to about 8.5%, of greenhouse emissions. So the more you create the healthcare infrastructure, the more you are contributing to, climate change. Just 1 hour of administering an anesthetic is equal to driving a gasoline-powered car for 250 miles. This is the global burden of medical care. At least an increase in 58% of the known infectious diseases are due to climate change. So if you really look at the future, it's quite frightening and scary. Unless we take control of our own lives, unless we take control of our own health, the future of healthcare is, in spite of all the technological and other developments, we are on a path of self-destruction. And this is where systems of medicine like Ayurveda is not against modern medicine. Ayurveda gives us an overall integral view of healthcare where everything has its place, but everything is used appropriately. And the responsibility of the health is with the individual. Ayurveda, this is exactly the way. See, right now our body is a vehicle according to Ayurveda, and life is a journey. And now we are just helpless passengers in the vehicle of our body. And what Ayurveda tells us is that instead of being the passenger, become the driver of your own life. This is the message that Ayurveda gives. So, how does Ayurveda become a process of self-discovery? And I find this very striking, the teaching of Aurobindo, the various levels of, human nature, and how we have to gradually evolve and unfold our inner potential. This is exactly the method of self-discovery. So Ayurveda says, Ayurveda is like a mirror where you first see yourself. You cannot begin your life without knowing who you are. In a relative sense, an absolute understanding of who you are happens in due course. But Ayurveda says as an embodied being, we need to have a certain self-recognition. And this is the Ayurvedic concept of Prakriti, our constitution. How we understand ourselves as a multi-dimensional being. Why am I who I am? This is very important to know. And Ayurveda says this journey of health begins with self-love. If you do not understand yourself, you cannot love yourself. If you cannot love yourself, you cannot live your life to full, and you cannot love others. So what does Ayurveda tell us? Ayurveda gives you multiple models of the human, entity. Today we have a one-dimensional understanding. We are just the body. So Ayurveda is slowly giving you, unfolding this higher nature. It doesn't want to tell all of a sudden that you have multiple dimensions. So the first thing it tells you is that you have your body is just the sthula part. There is something called sukshma. So first Ayurveda introduces to you a two-dimensional view of yourself. You survive your body. The body is perishable. See, in ancient India, there was not a big debate in my understanding after my deep study of Ayurvedic literature, at least in the context of Ayurveda. There was no debate about whether God existed or not. They were least bothered. The whole debate was whether I exist or not. Because if I don't exist after my death, it doesn't matter whether God exists or not. Is it not? So the whole debate, so it is, our darshanas are wrongly translated as theistic and atheistic. Astika darshana is not a theistic darshana. Nastika is not atheistic. What is their main debate is whether we survive our physical body or not. So the schools which believed that we have an existence beyond our physical body, asti paraloka iti, yesha mati sa astika. Astika doesn't mean that those who believe in God are astikas, those who don't believe in God are nastikas. In fact, the concept of God is also only a conceptual tool. When we understand what it is, that concept that disappears. It becomes pure, undivided consciousness. And we realize that I who exist is one, with the supreme consciousness in that ultimate, moment of realization. So the first step that Ayurveda does when you learn Ayurveda or start understanding Ayurveda is to get this knowledge about yourself as something that goes beyond your physical body. This is the two-dimensional view. And then Ayurveda tells us that what is beyond, you need to bring more granularity into it. It's not just something subtle, something ill-defined. We need to understand what it is. And then Ayurveda introduces a three-dimensional view of the human being. Sattvam atma shariram cha trayameta tridandavat. We are, a triangulated entity of the body, mind, and the self. I don't use the word spirit. I like to use the word self for Atman, because when you use the word self, your thoughts are directed inside. When I use the word spirit, it could be alcohol, or it could be, something which is moving around in a white cloth. But when you say self, it's something which is inward. And this is what Ayurveda wants us to do, is to turn our attention from the outer to the inner. A slow process and facilitate. It's a slow and transformational journey. So it has to happen in phases. And that is the technology and the technique that Ayurveda offers. Ayurveda is also known as the fifth Veda because of this reason. So it is a pity if Ayurveda is reduced to a medical system. Because Ayurveda is a healing system to heal ourselves. Healing means to make whole again. So we are broken inside, outside, and the goal of Ayurveda is to make us whole again. And for that, even medical treatment is necessary. But that's not the primary attention of Ayurveda. Today, this is the biggest misunderstanding that has happened, that Ayurveda is another medical system. I don't think Ayurveda can compete with modern medicine as a medical system. Medicine has developed so much today. Of course, Ayurveda has very powerful treatments also. But what I'm saying is that's not what Ayurveda is worth for. Ayurveda is worth because it is a healing system. It makes you whole. According to Ayurveda, Arogya means infinite happiness. Sukha samjnakam arogyam. If you are happy for no reason, only then you are healthy. Today, we need a reason to be happy. If you are happy for a reason, then you are sick. Because you don't need a reason to be happy, because your existence itself is happiness. If you unite with your own existence, then you will get that infinite happiness, which is completely fulfilling. When you don't feel any want inside, when you feel completely fulfilled. This is how Ayurveda defines health. In fact, the Ayurvedic definition of health is called swasthya. Swastha. So the WHO has come up with a definition of health is not merely an absence of infirmity or disease, but a complete state of mental, physical. And actually this will make people very miserable because they don't know how to reach that. It's not helpful to give a definition of health and not be able to achieve it because it makes you feel inadequate. So we need a technology, we need a technique, we need a method to be able to realize that. And Ayurvedic definition of swasthya dates many, many centuries before the WHO definition. So, samadosha samagnischa samadhatu malakriyaha prasanna atmendriya manaha swastha ityabhidiyate. Swastha means swasmin sthiyate iti swastha. A person who is, inside, resting in his own inner being. That is what the word swastha means. So, in fact, Ayurveda also has a term for the other kind of health that we understand today as absence of disease. We have a word in Ayurveda also, arogyam. Arogyam means arogata. The absence of a disease is arogyam. So again you can see that Ayurveda is giving you a methodology, giving you all the map you have to travel to reach the final destination of life. Where health is becoming synonymous with spiritual awakening and spiritual fulfillment. Ayurveda says that treatment is of two types. The laukiki chikitsa, which is treating disease again and again. It's a never-ending process. Because you may cure one disease today, tomorrow you will get another disease. Again you have to treat it. And many a time when you treat one disease, you get many other new diseases also as a bonus, as part of the treatment. So this is a never-ending process. So healing according to Ayurveda, which happens at a spiritual level, is called as Naishtiki Chikitsa. So there is Laukiki Chikitsa and Naishtiki Chikitsa. The real goal, therefore, is this self-development and self-evolution. And this is so beautifully explained in a short phrase called Ayura Arogya Saukyam, where all three essential, it's a three-component framework which should guide the development of a complete healthcare system. What is it that we need? Ayu, Arogya and Saukyam. The first is Ayus. We need our life to be protected. If our life is always in a threatened situation, we cannot move forward. And this is where medical systems have a role to play. When you have an emergency, you need to have all the measures to make sure that life doesn't slip away. But once your life is preserved, in fact, we are going to a society where more and more, I am very much disturbed to see like any drive across the highway where I live, you have to give way for ambulances every other minute. I am not exaggerating. You hear the siren of ambulances every now and then. We are going to a situation where we are creating more and more life-threatening situations. And we are surviving on ambulances and ICUs and medical interventions. If situations continue like this, the number of life-saving interventions that we will need to do in society will be mind-boggling. The projections, the economic burden of such a situation is unimaginable. We will never be able to cater to the needs of the whole society. From Ayurvedic perspective, it is the loss of harmony with ourselves and nature that even creates a life-threatening situation. If we are creating more and more life-threatening situations, so one way medical system is developing is by creating the tools and techniques to save life, what come may. But we have to understand that while these are very dramatic and very successful in individual cases, when we look at the whole population and we look at it across a period of time, these are not sufficient. And the purpose of life is not just to be saved from a life-threatening situation. We need to evolve, we need to go. We need to evolve to a state where we are not tackling with disease. This is called as Aurobindo. So from Ayush to Aurobindo. And once we achieve that Aurobindo, we have to reach a place where, we are undergoing that inner transformation to attain a higher level of health and wellness. Today, even the modern happiness index, on which the happiness is measured, has a lot of deficits. I mean, it's not a complete way to measure happiness, because in all the Western countries which come up, especially the Scandinavian countries which come up high on the happiness index, it's because all the material conditions are fulfilled, and that's the way happiness is defined. In Ayurveda, happiness is defined as an internal state, not dependent on external conditions. When you are able to be happy in spite of the external condition, sampad vipad sveka manaha, that is the state of happiness or health. It's a state where we are able to cope with any situation in life. So, I like to focus my discussion on these two themes: how Ayurveda gives us the opportunity for self-discovery and self-mastery. This is what I would like to focus on. So coming back to self-discovery, I just mentioned that Ayurveda tells us that we have a existence beyond our physical body. And that is the Sukshma Sharira, which if we again, magnify, then we see that there is a distinction between the mind and the self. So we are a trinity. And then we have to still even go further. But before that, Ayurveda also tells us that the mind is part of your body. It's not a separate thing. The body-mind creates one continuum. What affects the body affects the mind. What affects the mind affects the body. And if you want to gain control over your body, you must gain control over your mind. According to Ayurveda, all diseases are psychosomatic. Now, increasingly, this is being understood by modern medicine. Even the placebo effect, which is looked down upon as something not desirable, actually is the seed of all healing. According to Ayurveda, what is wrong with the placebo effect? If it can heal, it means that your mind can heal you without any medicine. And today, medical science is trying to kill the placebo effect and make you dependent on medicines. I was once at a conference in the US on integrative medicine, and a very famous psychiatrist was speaking. He was telling that we need to consider the placebo also as a medicine, for many reasons. One is, of course, it doesn't cost a dime. And the second is, you don't have to worry about side effects, but it's not fully true. I'll come to that. Third reason he said was that it's the most studied intervention in the world. There is no other intervention that has been as much studied as the placebo, because almost every other clinical trial has a placebo also being tested against the real medicine. And then he gave a very shocking revelation by saying that majority of the times the placebo has proven to be better than the real medicine. And the placebo is, we can construct a placebo in many ways. It's almost like the Ishtadevata of the religious context. You know, how you make it makes it more powerful. For example, if you use a blue placebo, it's good for sleep. If you make a red placebo, it works better as a painkiller. If you increase the dosage of a placebo on the label, it works better. If you make it more pricey, if you make it very costly, it works even better. But the most interesting thing that was discovered was that even if you tell it's a placebo, it works. So this is the power of the human mind. I was just reading a book. Now this is about making a placebo outside you, using some tool or symbol as a placebo. But now the concept is that you are the placebo. Why do you need a pill to create that belief? If you can give a strong, this was how old Vedic medicine was. Today people are wrongly telling that Ayurveda is an evolution of Vedic medicine into something more rational. In Atharva Veda, there was only a sankalpa. In Atharva Veda, healing was only a sankalpa. That the healer will tell the patient that, may you get healed. And the receiver will take that sankalpa with complete faith, and then he would get healed. So because we lost that faith, it's a fall of that faith. It is a fall from that intuitive, deeper consciousness, which Sri Aurobindo has also talks about, the shift from the Vedic to the later period, where, you know, we move from that intuitive consciousness to a more intellectual consciousness. And that is when medicine, then we start functioning intellectually, creating. This Ayurveda calls this as Yukti Vyapashraya Chikitsa. Yukti Vyapashraya is where we are dependent on intellect and calculations. It is a lack of faith in ourselves. The Ayurvedic texts clearly say that Manasaha Arthanukulyadhi Tushtirurja Balode. How the placebo works. It doesn't heal a disease, but it creates the circumstances for the body to heal. And this belief in oneself, this belief in that we can become whole again, as the nursery, stories tell, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty back again. That is our situation today. We sit on the wall of material life and we fall and we are broken. And that brokenness, no medical system is able to heal again. And this is what Ayurveda calls as healing, putting us back again as one whole. So a placebo effect, according to Ayurveda, healing begins with the mind. That's why taptajya ghadayoriva. If you put hot ghee into an iron vessel, the vessel will get heated. If you heat a vessel which holds ghee, the ghee will get heated. This is how the body and mind is. I don't know if you are aware that one thought is enough to completely change the way your immune system functions. Completely change the way your endocrine system functions. Completely change the way your nervous system functions. Your thought and mind and the body, they are constantly calibrating themselves against each other. When your body state changes, the mind calibrates itself accordingly. When the mind changes, the body calibrates it accordingly. So Ayurveda says that if you want to embark on this journey of self-transformation, you must hold your body and mind together as if they were one. And then calibrate them so that your body reflects your mind and your mind reflects your body in a positive way. Without that, you cannot discover, the higher realms of your existence. You cannot go into a higher journey. I don't know if you have heard of neurochemicals of happiness. We have all the drugs that we need. The body is the most illegal drug peddler in the whole world. Our own bodies, no person can come and, penalize us for self-drugging ourselves, only if we knew how to do it. All yogis, in my opinion, are drug peddlers. Only thing is they know how to do it within themselves. We have all the neurochemicals that we need to keep us happy and blissful. And one of which is associated with Sri Aurobindo. A scientist in Israel discovered that, many scientists discovered at one point that our body has receptors for endocannabinoids. Endocannabinoids are kind of psychedelic substances. So they were surprised, why does the body have these receptors? Is it because humans were addicted to these cannabis earlier? No, that couldn't be true. So then they hypothesized that it means the body is producing its own cannabinoids. But nobody had discovered these chemicals. Nobody knew that the body produced these chemicals using which it would take itself into a high state. So this scientist from Israel, he came to Sri Aurobindo's ashram in Pondicherry and he spent some time there. And he had an intuition. He had the feeling that he would be the person who will discover this molecule. And in that moment of inspiration, this is perhaps the only chemical molecule in the world which is known by a Sanskrit name. All other chemicals have Latin names or very difficult other, This chemical he called as Anandamide. Inspiration from Sri Aurobindo, being in the presence of Sri Aurobindo's ashram, he named it as Anandamide. Even today that molecule is known, it's an amide, but instead of using a usual chemical nomenclature, he called it Anandamide before it was discovered. He was so confident being in Aurobindo ashram that he would be the person who will discover it. So it's some divine, inspiration that happened. And it so happened, there were many other scientists in this running race, but it so happened that he was himself the person who discovered it. And it is true, our body. So if you just run in the morning for a few minutes or hours, your body produces enough Anandamide. So your lifestyle is linked to how your body functions, how it calibrates your mind. This is why Ayurveda says, Parishramo mitaharo bhugada vashvina viva tavanadritya nevaham vaidyamanyam samashraya. Let's keep the vaidya away. This was I don't know if you know that in very old days, vaidyas were paid only if patients were healthy, not if patients were sick. I was once in a meeting on cancer, and it's a cancer business group. And they were saying, cancer is the next big opportunity. I was completely shattered. Can you just imagine a person, a family where there is a cancer diagnosis, their life just turns upside down. At least cancer should be a disease where we should practice compassion. To consider cancer as a business opportunity, I think, is the depths of human degradation. So, I just lost. What was I? Just before that. Anandamide. Sorry. I got a bit overwhelmed when I talked about cancer, and I still remember the There was another thing that happened. I am not an active independent practitioner for one reason. After I studied Ayurveda and I set up my own clinic, and when I was sitting there, I just started worrying. Will patients come? What will happen if patients don't come? And I started, spontaneously praying. I should have a good clinic and a roaring medical practice. So may patients come. And then suddenly I realized, what is going on in my mind? We were taught when we were students of Ayurveda that we should pray, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Let everybody be happy. Let nobody be deceased. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And here I am praying that let sick people come to me. I can tell you this was a moment of self-discovery. I stopped my clinic. I said, I am not going to do clinical practice. And that is when I explored and found that in China and India there was a system where doctors didn't have to depend on patients to make a living. Their basic needs were taken care of. I have personally, in Kerala, we had our tradition survived for a long time. So right up to modern times, we had traditions still surviving, and some of those old doctors were still doing treatment in the traditional way. They had enough land, they would be doing their agriculture, and then people would keep on coming, giving them some gifts just out of, courtesy. And they would not receive it unless it is given, with real love and intention. They don't ask for any money. Anybody becomes sick, they are available. They will treat without, charging anything. In fact, snake bites, I have personally witnessed snake bite cases being healed. The whole courtyard of the physician would become the ICU. And the whole neighbors, they were all trained. They will come with the right herbs. I have made videos of all these just to see how, in a people-friendly way, medical care was administered, in those days. That concept itself is. So here you have in ICU, patients dying, sometimes you are kept inside just to increase the bill. I mean, it really happens. Patients are not let out of the ICU. When dead people are kept inside, to blow up the bills. And people die without, being near their dear and near ones. What can be more tragic than this? So here, the patient is lying on the lap of their own relative while the treatment is being administered. And the kind of assurance and love that your family member can give when an intense medical procedure is happening is extremely invaluable. I lost my father-in-law because he was isolated in an ICU. He died of grief and, cardiac arrests because nobody was allowed inside. He was a weak person. The doctor couldn't understand, what is the psychological background of that individual. So there are so many such neurochemicals of happiness. What happens when we do yoga? Another chemical increases in your body by up to 30%. It depends on how efficiently you do. You could increase it even more. This is called GABA, or it's the anti-anxiety molecule. So when you practice yoga, you can avoid avaidya, definitely. Vaidyamanyam savasra. I will not go to avaidya. That is what that Sanskrit verse which I quoted just now said. Because I know how to avoid avaidya, not by eating apples. By being physically active and, by taking the right diet. See, Ayurveda has told when it comes to diet that food should be tasty. That is primary. But if we think only of that, which is what today is happening, we have the food industry. Food has become an industry. It was not like that in our culture. Food was always shared. Food was one thing. Water was one thing which we distributed freely. Annadhanam was considered as a very big, punya, a merit. Because food is the right. Water is, today we have to pay for both food and water. And today two things have happened. One is that food industry has come. Food is a business now. And second thing is nutritional science is exploding with more and more. They themselves don't know what is going on. One day we will hear coffee is good. Next day they will say coffee is bad. One day we will say milk is, now they are saying milk is poison. So we are completely confused. And it's very easy for food industry to make use of all this nutritional information and pass misinformation. So food, Ayurveda say, food should be manasaha priyam, because one of the ways food nourishes us is mentally. And food quality affects our mind also. Now the second thing is food should be nutritious. And the third thing is food should be assimilable also. Simply, taking nutritious food doesn't mean it will help you, because you have to be able to digest and assimilate it. A lot of nutritious foods are harmful because they cannot be digested or assimilated by different individuals. That is why we say what is good food for one person is maybe not good for another, because it depends on your digestion. So if you are just looking at how much carbohydrates, proteins and fats or vitamins are there, it may not help you. So this is the biggest challenge. I believe that the food industry should switch over to this. Ayurveda was one of the oldest, and even today I think one of the most scientific approaches to cooking. India had a big cooking tradition. So the real science of cooking is when you make food tasty, nutritious and assimilable. This could be the new buzzword for a new kind of cuisine that the food industry can offer to the world. Our food is all the three. It's a 3-in-1. Your food is complete only if it is 3-in-1. Not just 3-in-1. The fourth one is that who cooks it? Food should be cooked out of love. Because food recreates your body. So what vibration you get from your food is very essential for your inner transformation. So the ancient Ayurvedic method of self-transformation was very detailed. Every single thing, what you eat, how you live your life, Now we have a retreat and all of us are sitting for the whole day. And the new finding is that sitting is the new smoking. You don't need to, so you need actually some movement breaks. Every half an hour, you don't need to break sessions so shall we do that? Shall we just pause for a moment, get up, stretch, and then sit again? This is so important. Yes. There is one exception. If you know yoga and you can sit in a yogasana, then it is okay. The reason is that we need to make sure that our pranic flow is not interrupted. When we sit, the electric movement, the neurological electric impulse, you can feel your parts of your body become numb. Please sit down, sir. Thank you. Why I am saying this is because I have begun to feel guilty of making people sit for long, and then I am myself in office changing. Small things that we can bring into our lives. There was a study which compared sitters and smokers, and they found that sitting is putting at a higher risk of lung cancer than smoking. But it doesn't mean that we are building a case for smoking. Smoking is equally harmful. See, if you can make use of our calf muscles, they are called the peripheral heart. You need to have a lifestyle where your calf muscles are very active. So many other neurochemicals of happiness, like serotonin. Have you heard of serotonin? It is the feel-good hormone or the happiness hormone. And 95% of serotonin is produced in your gut. There is a gut-brain axis. So what Ayurveda, this is all part of the self-discovery process that I am saying. We understand Ayurveda is like a user's manual. It first tells you who you are, you identify yourself. And then with that fingerprint, you are able to download the user's manual which is specific for you. Please don't read general guidances about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is not for, there are some generalized principles. What a big mistake we are making is seeing some general advices and start applying it in your life. Something may be very harmful because your constitutions are our constitutions are different. If I am having a dominance of Vata or a dominance of Pitta or Kapha or a combination, then our requirements, the way our body digests food, certain types of food, everything will be different. So in ancient times, I always wondered, Kerala we have what is called a sadhya. I don't know if you heard, it's a feast. A long plantain leaf will be placed and there will be so many dishes. And in the beginning, I always used to ask when food was served, the serving is very stingy. They will just take a small spoon and put a little. And I used to always object, give me more. And then they will say, second round we will give you more. Why is this? I always wondered. See, this is the way food was customized. You cannot make, when you have a large crowd, you cannot make individualized meals for everyone. So what is done is that everybody is given a sample to taste. And then they have to analyze and decide which ones are suited for them. In the second round, they are given enough food. So this is how a feast was done. So everywhere this idea of individualization was brought in. So eating food, sitting, standing, Ayurveda there was a discussion earlier that, in India we used to wake up and have a bath. That's not what Ayurveda says. What Ayurveda says is the moment you wake up, you must move your bowels. That is also meditation. Because you have to start your new day on a clean slate. And the body's metabolism, whatever happened yesterday. See, our body is a self-balancing, self-transforming, self-cleansing system. This is what the Dosha Dhatu Mala Siddhanta says. So the moment you wake up, and it is designed, the downward movement, the peristalsis of the colon has an impact on your mind. It relaxes your mind. So it's not, and if you visualize that your digestion has happened, all the waste in my system is going away, that also becomes a meditative process. It may sound a bit funny to think that, our excretory process can also be used as an opportunity for meditation, but that's what Ayurveda says. Brahme Muhurta Uttishtet. And that Muhurta is called as Brahma Muhurta. It is the moment for expanding your mind. It's a moment. Brahma Muhurta is a moment when you are active, you can expand your consciousness and your mind. And then the next thing is not bath. Bath is something which we do much, much later according to Ayurveda. There is a gross cleansing of the body that is done. And if you don't move your bowels, you are asked to drink some hot water. There are a lot of myths about drinking bottles and bottles of water. Ayurveda is not the culprit behind this. Ayurveda says always, water should always be drunk sip by sip. As the body loses water, you have to replenish it. So it's good to carry a bottle of water and take little by little, not at one go. It will completely disturb your digestive system. Even when you're eating a meal, you should have little by little, not a lot of water before or after. And then you are supposed to do oiling, exercise, cleansing of the systems. And after you sweat very well, your micro wastes are also removed. And after that only you are supposed to have a bath according to Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, it's not religious. So in Ayurveda, there is no time for praying, no time given for religious. You're taking care of your body because this is the kshetra. Your body is the temple. And by taking care of your body and awakening the self within, you are doing the biggest worship. This is the time is coming to an end. So I'd like to conclude the second part, which I was trying to build up, self-mastery. Ayurveda uses the imagery of the Bhagavad Gita itself. which is from the Kathopanishad. Atmanam radhinam viddhi shariram rathamevatu indriyani hayanyahu mana pragrahamevacha. So Atmanam, you are the charioteer. I mean, you are the passenger in the chariot. The chariot is your body. The 5 horses are the sense organs. And the mind is the reins that control. And buddhi is the sarathi, the charioteer. When you bring your life into the connection of your own higher intellect, so that is the 4-dimensional view Ayurveda adds, the body, mind and self. To that, the vital is also added, the senses. Then it becomes 4-dimensional. But you gain control over your life only when you add the other essential dimension that links the mind to the higher self, which is buddhi. Buddhi is not just intellect in the sense that we translate. It's a higher power of discrimination. And when you awaken buddhi, this is called prajna in Ayurveda, and all diseases are due to prajnaparadha, or the failure of your higher intelligence. You get a 5-dimensional view of the human body. And this is how we become masters of ourselves. So to conclude, when I was a student of Ayurveda, that is about 40 years ago, we studied Ayurveda in a forest in a Gurukula system. We were all told about the slogan, health for all by 2080, WHO. I was wondering how can everybody become healthy by 2080? Is there a pill that we can distribute? It's such so simple? And around 2000, what happened? AIDS. The whole world got frightened by that pandemic. WHO became wiser. It started talking about not health for all, universal health coverage, or health coverage for all. And then in 2020 came COVID. The countries with the maximum access to healthcare were the most to suffer, like the US, Italy, Europe. We fared much better actually. So the time has come for this Ayurveda slogan. It's not health for all or health coverage for all, it's health intelligence for all. It's by awakening health intelligence that we become masters of our health and masters of our life. And I think this is how Ayurveda invites you. I could only give some snippets here and there. There are a lot of details of the themes that I discussed. Ayurveda is a tool for self-discovery and self-mastery of our own health, of the health of the planet, of the health of the whole universe. Because we believe that there's not just one earth. Aneka kodi brahmanda jananye namaha. The mother goddess is a creator of crores and crores of universes. So let everybody, everywhere, enjoy health through this process of self-mastery. That's Ayurveda for you in a nutshell. Namaste.
Thank you so much. So, after Sir's talk, it is time for prasad, not lunch. So I invite all of you to go to AURO Cafe. If you need any support, please let us know. And I request volunteers to give the direction towards AURO Cafe. We will be sharp here at 1:55, so that 5 minutes before we can enter in the hall. Please, thank you so much, please. Thank you so much. It was very nice.
I hope it
Yeah, it was really good. It was good, sir.
This morning, we began with a glimpse of the life and work of Sri Aurobindo, which is the first of 3 parts